Hey everybody, I'm Stephen Crabtree, and this is Ask a Bud segment of the Get Roast Entertainment podcast. In this segment, we'll be interviewing Tennesseans on their journey into the vapor, alternative, and harm reduction space, how it has affected their lives, and what would happen if they lost access to it. Today, we are speaking with Tammy Godsey. Tammy, if you can, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm in my mid 50s. I work two jobs. I have had a rough life. I have several health issues, heart problems, back problems, arthritis. I've suffered mental health issues. I've been on medicine since I was 16 for that. Uh, when I first started uh, using marijuana, it was for recreational because, I was young,
Mm-hmm.
along with everything else back then. As I got older and I worked a hard life, I worked in rock quarries and gardening and things like that, real folk work,
Yeah, yeah,
from
rock
back
quarries,
in
hard
the
work.
day, not like most people do today. And I didn't take real good care of my body.
Yeah,
And I regret that now. Uh, I've never been big on chemicals, but I was always in pain and having problems. So I realized that instead of taking a handful of pills, that I could take something natural that God gave us and not need all these pills.
yeah. I mean, if it had that effect on you,
Yeah, and
yeah.
it did.
Yeah, I think that's that. So, how long did have you known that cannabis could replace a plethora of medication?
A good 25 years,
Okay, so you've been using it for quite some time.
quite some time.
How do you prefer to use the product?
Well, to start with, I just smoked because that was it. You smoked it.
Right.
Since then, I have learned, of course, that you could use it to cook with, and
Oh yeah,
that was good.
yeah. It changes the complete feeling because
Oh
of it being
yeah,
processed through the liver.
of course, learning it made the refrigerator a little stinky if you wasn't careful,
Yeah,
But it's not like that nowadays. That, like I said, that was a long time ago, back in the day. But now it helps so much. Like there's the edibles you can use when you're working. Uh, I don't, like people say they get high. I don't get high. I don't see that.
yeah. We talked to people before like that.
Yeah, and for me, it's like I have 13 things that show up in my MRI from the middle of my back to my hips.
Yeah.
And that's just in that one little area. That's not counting the what's below or above that.
Right.
And so that was the main thing. I have bulging disc, degenerative disc. I've got pinched nerves. I have a cyst on the end of my femur bone that literally swells up. You can see a knot out the side of my
Yeah.
hip,
Yeah. So there's a lot of nerve endings in your back that
Yeah,
control your whole body.
and it helps with the nerve pain. It helps with the inflammation. It helps tremendously with the anxiety. I would much rather have some form of cannabis versus a handful of narcotics or
Yeah.
benzos for nerves. You
Right.
know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? I don't like to be zombified. And that was what I learned very young, in my 20s. My son was young, and I was on like 17 different prescriptions.
Well, yeah.
And a lot of it was coming from the mental health. And I would find myself on all this medicine that was supposed to make me feel better.
Yeah.
I was catching myself trying to commit suicide and my son in the next room.
Wow.
And
That's sad.
so that let me know that this is not helping me,
Yeah. There's always
and
quality of life there.
right. And the Bible says, God says in the Bible in Genesis that he, he will provide for us anything that we need.
Yeah.
to care for us, to feed us, to take care of us as medicine, whatever.
Yeah, seed bearing plants. Yeah.
Right, and marijuana is a seed bearing plant. And I've tried for years to understand how the government could use it in certain places and prescribe it as a medicine, but in other places it's totally illegal. And the thing has been, to me, my opinion, the fact that God gave it, man can't figure out how to tax it to get their money from it.
That's been I mean, that's been a statement for a long time, but I think it's a lot more than that. There's so the business, the status quo, and how certain businesses have come about. It would affect varying industries. Like we're gonna do a segment called "The Blunt Truth," where we talk about how cannabis got in the position that it was, and like I still I don't want I hate to say it and be wrong in any of this, but if I'm not mistaken, it mainly was because of the invention of the decorticator, in the cotton gin, and then so like that with that invention of a new machine and the ability to process hemp, and hemp being a far more superior product to cotton or paper, would have destroyed those industries. They were established, so they could stunt the growth of that new business, kind of like how industry is now, is they'll buy patents and shelve them, and because it threatens the livelihood of that business and those employees, and it's kind of a problem of free market, but which I would consider myself, I believe, a free market capitalist,
Right?
but there's issues.
Yeah.
So like kind of like with alcohol and the situation that we're dealing with now, alcohol culture is getting less and less.
Hmm.
The youth is becoming more focused on healthier alternatives, like
Yeah.
kava and kratom and more natural products,
Right.
microdosing with psilocybin, functional mushrooms. They're like ketamine therapy is a thing now. And people are more focusing on like what's in our food. I just found out that one of my most favorite candies that I like to eat is Nerd Clusters and
Oh
the Nerd
no.
Rope. And if you look on that back of that packaging and you see carmine color, that is like the I'm gonna butcher this name, but it's like the Kochia bug. And when they crush the microscopic bug up, it produces a pink or red, like
Oh
vibrant color,
no.
and that's what they color nerd ropes and nerd clusters
You
with.
just killed me. That's one of my favorite candies.
Yeah. Oh, it's one of
Yeah.
they've already started to use grasshoppers in food. That it'll be a high protein product. And if you look it up, like what's the name of grasshoppers as an ingredient, you'll find it. And they've already started to put that into the products without telling anybody. So like you will eat the bugs is something that was said. You'll own nothing and you'll be happy is also what was said. And if we don't start like awakening to the fact that we can make change, through the court of public opinion, then like we're gonna get run over and be forced, to eat the
Yeah.
bugs and take the medicine and drink the THC from the alcohol company and the vape the product from the tobacco company
Right.
and the best way to disseminate information is through conversation. So I hope that through this, we can get people to respond and speak to the representatives. So that's kind of the point to why we're here. So how long have you used Tennessee's hemp products
Ever since they legalized it.
legalized? And have you noticed like a difference between what you were using before and now?
At first, I could, I could tell a little bit. Um, it looks the same
Yeah,
for the most part. It is the same,
yeah,
and it the way we get it, it does what it needs to do for us. There's not, because we get it for the medicinal qualities. And I feel that the way that they have regulated it to come in, that took the so-called high away for the most part. You know what I'm saying? they they took that. I mean, to me, it's kind of like the difference in you had light beer and then they come out with ice beer.
Yeah,
You know
yeah,
what
that's
I'm
more
saying?
potent. Yeah,
Way different. And but it's okay for them to continuously increase the alcohol content in alcohol that you can walk in and buy at a convenience store.
yeah. That is
You know,
happening for a long time with youth.
for
Yeah,
years, and our children are doing it.
yeah,
But when it comes to something natural, they want to cut what its potential is from the beginning,
yeah,
which is okay because we still get our medicinal properties, but then they want to come in later and do it again, and eventually it's going to be that they're going to take all of the properties out,
yeah.
and it would be no different than walking out here saying, "Oh, look, this is pretty. Let's
Well,
see what it does."
the current bill, HB 1376, SB 1413, before amended just recently, would have been an outright ban on even uh, like industrial hemp, because you cannot produce like the hemp plant and it have less than 0.1% THC. The THC, since the beginning of time, has always started as an acid and it naturally decarbs on the plant. So there's some misunderstanding to the general public as to the difference between THCA and like dispensary grade marijuana. There is no difference. The difference mainly lies in testing in time, and then what the law says the percentages can be and can't be. But mainly time. A dispensary state wants their product to show as strong as possible, and we have to show that it's under 0.3% 30 days before harvest. And then now we are battling testing requirements that would drastically minimize the effectiveness of the hemp plant that we have access to, but at the same time would force you to get the same strength of product that you're looking for, but make you take it in only edible form or distilled and then like in a cart or a distillate like a cartridge or disposable, but then limit the amount of packaging size that you can have for that. And then there was another amendment that was proposed that would limit that even further to where you could only buy a zero point 0.6 gram cart or a zero point 0.6 gram disposable or zero point 0.6 grams of concentrate. I think like only a half ounce of flour at a time, which I think that is fine as long as you can buy a half ounce every day per se.
Right.
The not saying that every user needs that much, but
Yeah.
as long as that is acceptable, then that way that person has a half ounce can only have a half ounce at one time, and you would there needs to be some separation just for regulatory sake between a bill of lading and like the product traveling to and from business and a consumer, so that way people that are the bad actors, can't say this is a hemp product and they're doing so and so, because that does give us a bad name, and as a member of the hemp industry, like we want to work with the regulators to produce a fair and a fairly regulated market that with common sense regulation, and to destroy an already established industry with already established consumers that are mainly on the medicinal side is barbaric. Because now you're forcing them to decide, do I want to continue to maintain this quality of life and and agree to be a criminal and go across state lines or order online, which therefore Tennessee loses completely on the revenue, and then citizens have to take the chance of having a criminal record. So I think,
Or going to the streets,
yeah,
which is not safe
it is
anymore.
not safe anymore because you don't. Most people that sell on the street, the only, this has been my personal opinion as far as cannabis being a gateway drug. Cannabis is only a gateway drug because the person that you would go buy whatever from, that you were introduced by a friend or however, tended to have other products there. And when you were having a bad day and they didn't have, cannabis, but they had cocaine or pills or whatever, and you have heard about it or were just interested because it was a bad day, that's the gateway effect. So regulating where consumers pick these products up, ensuring that they're not cross contaminated anyway with fentanyl, it should be high priority. I would like to try to cross reference some numbers on the decrease of fentanyl overdoses since I guess 2018 would be a little too soon, because I don't think THCA in the market started to understand the full capacity of what the 2018 Farm Bill meant. I think in 2021 is when we at Crossville Vapor and Rusty Hemco started selling THCA products. So really, since 2021 to present day, what has the effect on fentanyl overdoses been? That's a good question. Um, but I don't hear about it as much. It's anecdotal. I used to work for the sheriff's department. I talked to a lot of those guys still, and there for a time there was like six a night coming out of like a retirement community, Tansy.
Oh yeah,
The
and
Yeah,
just right down the road as well.
right,
I
right.
mean, I
It,
have several extended family that over the last few years we've lost because of,
lost.
and that's what it's been. It's all been fentanyl overdose,
Yeah, yeah,
and there's a few of them that have been. And this is the part that gets me about the drugs and the overdose is they will allow these people that they know are drug addicts to overdose on fentanyl in the parking lot at the Dollar General,
yeah,
or in the store at the Dollar General. But do not take them to jail. Do not take them to the hospital. As long as somebody has come in and Narcan them and saved their life, they let them go home like nothing ever happened.
yeah,
What is that teaching them? How is that helping them in any way?
yeah,
I mean, and it's traumatizing when you're out somewhere like that and it happens,
yeah,
because you never know who's going to be there, kids, because I work as a retail merchandiser in the Dollar Generals. So I know of, I mean, there's a few of the stores here in Crossville. It's happened recently, and there was a 10-year-old girl went to the restroom at one of the Dollar Generals
just came in contact with it, or
and walked in, and the lady was there and fell out in the floor with the needle in her arm.
wow,
And the little girl, didn't, nobody knew she was in there. There, two of them had went in, and one came out, and the other one stayed in. Well, she took the key back, thinking her friend was coming behind her.
wow,
They gave the little girl the key. A few minutes later, she goes in here. This lady's,
yeah,
and they Narcaned her. She come to. They sent her home. That little girl's traumatized for life.
yeah, yeah,
And as a parent and a grandparent now, no, I'm not about that. I want safety for my children.
yeah.
And like when I was a kid going and buying off the street, it was completely different,
It was
or
different. Yeah,
before all of this.
yeah,
I, I dealt with the same person basically every time.
yeah.
I knew, I mean, you knew who you dealt with.
Right,
You knew what you were getting. You didn't have to worry about it.
right,
Over the last few years, no, it's not like that.
right,
And I don't, I would rather know that my children and my grandchildren can walk in somewhere like Crossville Vapor or Roasted Hemp and get something that I know is going to help them, whether it be the THC product or whether it be the Kratom or whatever. And I don't have to worry about, is it going to hurt them?
right,
And I know that if they have any questions, the people that are there, they're knowledgeable, and they're going to help. And if they can't help, they'll find somebody that can.
Yeah.
Or the next time you come in, they'll have the answer for you.
Yeah. And there's an
You know.
abundance of products, and it's
Yeah.
very difficult to get everybody,
Oh, yeah, and things
cross-trained.
change
But
every other day. Y'all are
yeah,
getting new stuff in. I mean, it's amazing.
yeah,
So yeah, you have to ask a lot of questions
yeah,
because of the way things change so often.
right,
But they do a really good job of knowing their product and like teaching people that don't really know, because there's a lot of people that are just now trying this because it is become so accessible,
right, right.
you know,
Yeah,
and I love it. I'm going to be very upset if they take it away from us. It's going to make life very hard for
yeah,
a lot of people.
yeah. I think we've gotten a decent amount. We're making grounds when it comes to having the community, react, and when we need as much as we possibly can, because we are definitely not out of the woods. On another side of this that we've not talked about a whole lot, that I figured you would be good to talk to, is on the vapor side, the nicotine harm reduction. That side is not looking as good. We are subject to lose every flavored product, every vapor product on the market that you would find at any traditional vape store that is not Views, Blue, or Enjoy. That's a 50 milligram product that is only comes in tobacco or menthol. Uh, you know, so just think, you would never see bottles of juices on the shelf. You would never see devices in the case. It would always be a pod and the stick battery at a gas station. If we do not, get a carve out, and allow open systems at bare minimum. The open attack, and there's definitely a conversation to be had there against disposables. Like the harm reductionist in me it is a harm reduction tool, and people need convenience, so it has become the easiest way for people to quit smoking. But the majority of these products are made and filled in China, and I understand that concern. But that, like, doing a carve out for a disposable company that the device is purchased and filled in the United States should be allowed. Just like open systems should be allowed. We should be able to buy the hardware, from wherever it's made, and then the e-liquid, as all e-liquid is that we sell, is made in the United States. And it might not be FDA approved. It is FDA registered. They know the facilities. They know the level of the facility. It's the ISO rating. It has basically been the same ingredients for many, many years now: vegetable glycerin, propylene glycol, natural artificial flavoring, and or nicotine. It's a common statement, in the House and Senate of, we don't know what's in these products. It's literally on the bottle.
The
On
same thing
all of
that's
them.
been in them for years.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Like popcorn lung has been a common statement. There was a statement recently made, in the Senate, where they said that the girl, had received popcorn lung from vaping a THC product. I've never heard of popcorn lung and THC, but where popcorn lung comes from is from diacetyl poisoning, which is it's a creamy butter, like artificial butter like flavoring that from butter, or the popcorn factory. That's where the popcorn lung comes from. But those employees were inhaling copious amounts of mass of diacetyl, and that caused popcorn lung. I don't know of a single case of popcorn lung caused by vaping, and vaping, e-liquid hasn't had diacetyl in it since, I think, before 2010. So even then, it was put in at so small amounts and it was only in uh, like creams and custards. It wasn't even in every flavored e-liquid. So the chance of you getting popcorn lung at the time when diacetyl was even an ingredient was so small. Again, I don't know of a single case. Yeah, I would love to. I shouldn't probably say that without having general facts in front of you, but I don't know of a single case. It's just been just like heavy metal poisoning. A lot of the tests that were done were not, the device was not used properly. I think the Rutgers did a study where they said that they had to superheat the device, meaning that they had to overperform the device past what normal use would be considered to get the study to show that it had heavy metals in it. That's not normal use. There's memes about taking a dry hit, so there would be no way for you to burn the cotton to the point to where the solder melted off of the off the coil. It's impossible. So but the problem is like these illnesses are suggested and expected that no one will look further than the statement alone, and that's kind of where the fear mongering and propaganda comes from. So we desperately need people to reach out to tnsmokefree.org, and follow the call to action. There's a list of legislators. There's a Find My Legislator, function on the website that will show you like who you need to contact and let them know that that if they ban that you oppose these products, this bill, SB 0763, I believe it is. That not only should they oppose it, but that you're going to continue to get these products one way or the other.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And or go back to smoking, which is sad because the Taster study shows that the nicotine vaping, or vaping and tobacco use with youth is down at 25-year all-time low. That same trend is with adults as well. Cigarette smoking is on a decline, is what I'm trying to say.
Oh yeah. I know. I smoke 2 to 3 packs a day before I started vaping. And I'm not going to say that I completely quit, because occasionally I do still smoke a cigarette. But that's very few and far between. Usually if I'm really stressed out, because there is a difference, especially if you've been a smoker for 30 plus years.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? There's a big difference. But a friend of mine and I were talking about it here last week, actually, about we didn't realize until after we quit smoking just how much time smoking always took up out of our lives.
Right.
And like, the kids were always, come on, Mom, well, you're always waiting for Mom to finish a cigarette, or I'll be in a minute, or, whatever. You're always finishing that cigarette. And that's 7 to 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Every cigarette you light,
Yeah.
And if you smoke 2 packs a day, that's 40 cigarettes.
Yeah.
At 7 minutes, that's a long
That's
time.
a long time.
A day.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Even if you don't do that. So
Yeah,
that's a lot of, not to mention the time it's taken off your life.
Yeah, that's a factor that's not looked at all.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I've had 7 stents, had bypass surgery. I've had 6 different cardiologists work on me. Every one of them fussed at me up one side and down the other about smoking cigarettes. They never said a word to me about cannabis. Never said anything about that. Get off the nicotine. Stop the cigarettes.
Cigarettes, yeah.
And so I would try, I would quit for a minute, and I would always start back, because it was that stress thing. I didn't want to take medicine. I just, so I would smoke too. But since I started these, I don't smoke a pack of cigarettes in a week, even.
Yeah.
Maybe longer. And my vaping helps me. I keep it with me. And it's more a thing for my hands. I have learned, as long as I've got something to keep my hands occupied, I don't want to smoke now.
Right.
And when I do smoke a cigarette, I don't even like it. It's just nasty.
Yeah.
I don't like to smell it.
Yeah.
But every now and then it is that, and so hopefully, slowly but surely, I have almost completely quit now.
Yeah.
And
well, how long have you been vaping?
I've been vaping for just over a year.
And were you exposed to it at Cross the Vapor, or?
Actually, I'm not going to lie, my daughter
Sure.
and all of her friends.
Yep.
But Crossville Vapor is where I would come. I started coming in there looking for different devices, and before I started vaping, I would
Okay.
come to your shop to find things that I would find when I was out of state in Florida, and things like that, because I knew you sold different devices more than just for vaping.
Yeah. Right.
And that was when you were in the process of trying to get the bar open, your
Yeah.
DAP bar. So I had heard a lot about the place, but I didn't really vape, so I didn't really have a reason to come in
Sure.
until you started the other part of it.
Right.
Then once I started coming in, yeah,
Yeah.
it's.
Yeah. I mean, so you were exposed to, that, I mean, and that's fine. Like trying to
But I
figure
don't
out the
buy my vapes
timeline and
anywhere but Crossville
the,
Vapor for the most
well,
part.
I appreciate that. But like I was just trying to figure out like, was you, because of the hemp products, is that what led you to try to quit smoking? And then the like, okay, so the health benefit, have you noticed a benefit to limiting, because there's an argument that dual use isn't a health benefit. Have you noticed a benefit to your health while limiting the amount of cigarettes that you smoke?
Yes, I have. I used to wake up of a morning, even in my sleep of night, I would wake up like gurgling,
Yeah.
choking out.
Yeah, almost like a bronchitis
And
cough.
yeah, so I have COPD, I've got bronchitis, a touch of asthma, all kinds of whatnot. And since I started vaping, I don't wake up in the middle of the night choking. I don't, I'm good for the most part. I can play with my granddaughter, and that was what made me decide. My youngest daughter got pregnant, and she's like, "Mom, I really wish, that you would try to quit." She said, "At least, because around the baby, I knew I couldn't smoke.
Right.
And I knew if I wanted to spend time with them, I wasn't going to." So that made me decide, okay, you're going to have to kick this habit. But I knew I couldn't just stop it.
Right.
So I started vaping.
Yeah.
And I've never been a fan of menthol cigarettes.
Yeah.
And even before, like when I would work out of town, and we would get put up in a room while we were working. Uh, as a smoker, you can't smoke in a motel.
Right.
So I tried like the views and enjoy and whatnot, and I was never a fan. I didn't like it. They
Yeah.
choked me. I didn't like the flavor of it.
Yeah.
So I couldn't, and it was just a waste of money. I would end up throwing it out and
Yeah.
never use it.
Right. Right.
And so I found that with a few things over the years, like when they first come out with the juice, that you had the little pen type devices that
Yeah.
you had to fill up the top,
Yeah. Yeah. It's like
I
an
tried,
introductory vape
right,
product.
I tried those, and I would do like the peach or the vanilla flavor, and it was easier, but I always found myself going back to smoking because it was inconvenient,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And so with these, though, the disposables, it's convenient, but the flavor, I think, is what keeps me from going back to the cigarettes.
Yeah. Cigarettes
Because,
taste so bad.
yeah, and also, not just that, because the fact that there are the nicotine free vapes,
Right.
uh, the flavor of it, you can completely kick the nicotine to the point that you will stop vaping
Yeah.
altogether.
Yeah.
And that's what happened with my daughter. She started vaping on her own without me knowing it. She's 19-year old and addicted already to vapes, and which I would rather her smoke vapes than cigarettes. But these young kids don't smoke a vape like older people do. They're used to smoking them in the bathroom at school,
Right.
you know. So that's why the younger people, it needs to be more, they need to be adult and responsible and know what they're doing. They don't need to, what is it they call it, zero out to
Yeah.
keep the smoke detectors from going off in the bathroom.
Yeah.
That's what causes harm to our children. But
Yeah.
it's because they're doing something they shouldn't supposed to be doing to start with.
I would agree, right? And then
So,
there's laws on the books right now that say that, and so like that's kind of where I would go back to the TSFA, and our bill that we have proposed that pulls all vapor products out of non-vape stores, which would be convenience stores, because anybody can walk into a convenience store and is expected to be able to, and it basically limits access. If you can restrict access to where vape products are only sold in vape stores, and it's a licensed vape store that is regulated as such, then you would know when you know where these products are coming from. It either comes from the store or it comes from some other person, that's buying it for them. And that just kind of comes off as common sense to me. That why are we banning an entire industry? And basically making or banning adults from access to a healthier alternative product. When we should be at least limiting access to children. That nobody in the vape industry legitimately wants kids to purchase these products. We were the ones as an industry that was kind of one of the most beautiful things that I had seen from a business standpoint is that vape shops around the country had gotten on the same page without some centralized group that it should be an 18 and up product since there's been a vape store. And then we agreed with the 21 and up because you'll have an 18-year-old that's a senior in high school, so that's a pipeline to those kids with those products, so that way we could again maintain access for adults to these safer, healthier alternative products. And now, instead of trying to restrict access even more, although the Taster study shows that vaping is at a 25-year, all-time low. The study also shows that it is less harmful, but still remains to be harmful. If you look at the studies from the Royal College of Physicians, vaping is 95%, less harmful than smoking combustible tobacco. A lot of people believe that nicotine is a carcinogen, but it's not. It's actually a nootropic. It's the 1,999 other ingredients within the cigarette that legitimately it's the most over-engineered consumer product on the market. With that being said, that we need to protect access to adult access and limit youth access even further. A lot of people do not agree with the 21 and up, and I completely understand the arguments. But in order for we know now that the brain doesn't stop developing until somewhere around the age of 24 to 26. So that alone is why I would say maybe the youth should wait unless referred to by a doctor, because there's other studies that show that nicotine actually helps with ADHD. I would prefer a kid that has ADHD or ADD, consume nicotine before an amphetamine,
oh
which
yeah.
is the number one prescribed,
Oh, believe
product
me,
to that.
yes. Yeah.
So like I'm kind of conflicted, but it's more complicated for me to just say, yeah, outright, I don't want youth access period without physician oversight. So we've kind of we're definitely in a pickle, and all I can say is that I hope that when people listen to what we've got here, that they reach out to their representatives. We've made it quite easy, through Crossville Vapor, Roasted Hemp Co., Get Roasted Entertainment. You can go to tnhaa.org for the call to actions for the hemp, cannabis and healthy alternative side, and then you can go to tnsmokefree.org for TSFA, which is Tennessee Smoke Free Association. We've got call to actions there because we definitely need help on both of them, especially nicotine right now, because it's not looking good, as far as access to these products to be available after January, I believe it is. So, Tammy, I really appreciate you coming out. It's been great
Thank you
speaking with
very
you.
much.
I'm
I
looking forward to you coming
appreciate it.
out and checking out one of the other segments that we do.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you.